I have a thought that I could start with.
Welcome back. Welcome to Technical Glitches because something happened. But this is the continuation of our discussion on whether or not you need a website. You were going to share something with us.
Yeah, the former algorithm on LinkedIn was based on valuable content. And that is so subjective. And there was a significant amount of pushback around that. And I don't think that algorithm worked so well. So they went back to interest. So reader interest, real engagement. Now, that can be manufactured. You can send a link to a post to a bunch of people and say, hey, this one's really important to me. You know, do you have the time to like comment or share
Mm.
this post? Amplification pods and that sort of thing. But the intent of it is, if people are responding and engaging with your content, then it must be valuable. So they're taking it back to that kind of an algorithm right now. And I don't know which one is more valuable, but we're going to see a shift again
But
in the
we see a
algorithm.
shift, and that's also another reason why you want your website is because every time these different platforms shift their algorithms, which they do on a regular basis, Google does it, Facebook does it, LinkedIn does it, our audience changes and our reach to our audience changes. So if I don't have a direct means to stay in touch with Angela, and LinkedIn decides for whatever reason that my content's not relevant to her and shifts the algorithm, I'm no longer in front of her. So that's quite another reason why build your own website and then get their email, because that way you can reach out to them. And people read emails. I don't care what other people say. People read emails. Um, you know, a good open rate is around 20%, and that means 80% of your audience will ignore you. But nonetheless, people do read their emails and still use the other platforms, use platforms like LinkedIn to drive traffic back to your website, to drive visibility and your brand. But use it as an additional tool, not instead of building your website.
Right. No, email addresses are so important. I very early on in my career, I worked for a real estate agent, and she told me, Angela, I don't care if they don't open up my email for 6 years. If they haven't opted out, they've still chosen me. And when they do have a house to sell or a house to buy, I'm going to be their choice. I'm their preference. So I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, what's interesting is even if they don't open your email, just the fact that they get it still keeps you top of mind, right? It's like because I get emails from people and like I don't always open all of them, but but I'm aware that they're there. I'm aware that the people are sending them out. And like you said, a lot of times I don't open them for the very same reason you talk about. I don't have an immediate need for that person's services. Like I'm not looking to buy a house. But when that need shifts, guess who's going to be top of mind? The person who's still in my inbox, right? I can go
Yes.
find them. You know, I think that a lot of our decision making is really about what will we remember. So if I haven't heard from you in 2 years because I haven't engaged, I won't remember you. But if you sent me an email or we networked within the last couple of days, like, oh right, you're going to be top of mind. And all of this and marketing is about being top of mind. Right. You have to provide a legitimate service. You have to provide value. No one's, if you don't provide those two, it doesn't matter if you're top of mind, you're not going to get business. But if you are legitimately providing value to your customers, then you're just competing with noise. And the way to compete with noise is to remain top of mind.
Right. And that may require an omni-channel strategy, like we're talking about, which is either you meet them in person at a networking event, you um, they read your content on LinkedIn, they visit your website, they sign up for your newsletter. That's a couple different places that they have an opportunity to stay top of mind with you.
LinkedIn's a bit of an exception, but when we look at the different platforms, they have a relatively short life. Um, because I know like a year ago, everybody was like, oh, you should definitely be, over here, and that platform, like, should you be on TikTok? Should you be on Instagram? You know, there were crowd something, right? Well, everybody was on that for a while.
Clubhouse has
Clubhouse, there
sort
you
of
go. Thank you.
fallen by the wayside.
Right, but I mean, like a year ago, Clubhouse was hot. Like that was the place to be seen, right? A year later, like I don't know anybody who's doing anything on Clubhouse. Right?
I
So
have friends that have spent a lot of money on their Clubhouse strategies, and
yeah,
that's not
things
a
change.
place to put all your eggs in one basket.
Absolutely. So, if you've relied solely on Clubhouse, you're probably not in a good space. But if you've used Clubhouse, but you've also developed other channels, and oh, by the way, you collected their email, like they had
Exactly.
enough times, but if you collected their email from your Clubhouse days, then you still have a means to touch these people. Like, hey, we're not on Clubhouse anymore, but now the greatest platform that we're on, and we'll move you over here. But it's this idea of like these platforms come and go. Maybe it's TikTok, maybe it was Clubhouse, doesn't seem to be Clubhouse now. I've been through a bunch of, we've been doing this for a long time. Like I said, we started off on Yahoo Groups. I think that, was it MySpace? What was the first one?
Is this
Friends with Tom? Remember back when you were friends with Tom, right? MySpace,
yes. Oh my God.
Yahoo Groups, Facebook, you know, LinkedIn's been pretty good, but LinkedIn's a very specific audience for, like you can't do B2C
Well,
on
it's
LinkedIn.
the only legacy platform that was designed to be B2B.
Right. And it's very good at that, but but B2B is not all businesses. You know, for any of our clients that are B2C, we're currently, and check back in 6 months, this will change. But currently, we're leveraging Instagram. So, especially if it's a visible product and something that we can share but the products that we're sharing on Instagram aren't appropriate for LinkedIn. They're a different audience, and so
Right.
leverage these platforms, leverage them based on, your audience and where they are, and if this is appropriate for that. But we still build the websites and we still, drive content to create, this authority, trust, and whatever the E is for whatever reason, I'm having a mental block on
Expertise.
expertise, right? So we want to make sure there's EAT. So it starts with expertise. Thank you very much. But that's what we're trying to do through content is create this expertise. This is why we're chatting with you, because we want you to know us, love us, trust us, and then come do business with us, right? That's the whole reason. Not that I don't love to talk with Angela, and I do all the time, but not that I don't love talking with Angela, but we have an agenda. Let's put it out there, right? There's a reason why we do these types of things, and there's a reason why we create these kind of videos. So
Well, and there is another piece of that I want to address too. There are so many people that are giving people incorrect information. And so,
fake news. You heard it here first.
um, eh, I have conversations with people about LinkedIn all the time, and a cookie cutter formula for you on LinkedIn is probably not going to work with your business model. It really does take understanding personality and business model to craft something that they're going to sustain and that's going to actually work for them. And I would guess that's the same with the website. If somebody has this cookie cutter format, they're going to put together a website for you. That's probably not going to reflect their expertise, their authority, and create trust because it's incongruent with their business model and their personality.
Yeah, I mean, what I'm going to say to that is some people's expertise, authority, and trust is just building websites, and they're fine. They're good at that. Okay. But clearly, we've come to understand that, simply building it is only the first step, right? Because if you're not going to generate content and if you're not going to, continue to update it, it will sit and it won't get any traffic. So, there are some people who build beautiful websites, and don't get me wrong, and they do a very good job at it. But I would say that's only the first piece of your market strategy. It's not your market, a website is not your marketing strategy. It's a piece of your marketing strategy. So
That's a fantastic point. Really, what we're talking about here at the end of the day on this podcast is a comprehensive marketing strategy.
Right. You know, it's called badass marketing. It's not called badass build websites. Part of what we do is we build websites, but that's not where we stop. It's marketing. And marketing is about engagement, which requires touch points. It requires, you know, becoming top of mind, which means you have to sort of keep it in front of them, whether it's through networking, whether it's through content, whether it's through platforms, whatever it needs to be. But marketing is an ongoing process. It's a, you know, I don't know anybody who's like, okay, give me marketing for a month and then I'll be set for the rest of my business career. And it's like, it doesn't work that way. You know,
No,
you have to come back.
no
You have to keep paying us. Sorry.
ways.
Thank God. Thank God, you got to keep paying us. But it's, you know, marketing is ongoing, you know. So I think one of your earlier questions is, you know, when should you not have a website? And I was like, oh, everybody should have a website. And the answer is no, you probably shouldn't have a website if your intent is never to do anything with it, right? The very first thing that we ask people when they come to us is, what are you going to do with this? And why are you building a website? And then, you know, if their answer is, I'm building a website because I'm supposed to, we're like, ooh. You should, but don't, you know, because the reality is you can't build it and leave it and expect anything to happen. So if you do want to invest in a website, and you can, you know, these can be generally expensive if you want to go for all the bells and whistles and custom stuff, and, you know, or it can be, you know, a little bit out of the box and be a little more cost affordable. But it does, none of that matters if you're not going to do the ongoing marketing from it. So the people who don't need a website is the people who do not believe that they need to do additional marketing to drive traffic to that website, because it won't happen on its own. Right?
That's a very definitive answer.
Yeah. So if you know, if you're going to build it and leave it, don't build it. Save yourself a couple bucks. You know what I mean? And these
That's
other
kind of
platforms,
about expectations.
yeah.
You know, it is the whole expectation, build it and they will come. And LinkedIn is the same way.
Yeah.
You know, a static LinkedIn profile is not going to do the same thing as a profile and content.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know anybody who's built a LinkedIn profile and done nothing since then that's getting traction, right?
Yeah.
You know, if you're not engaging with the platform, you know, is probably not going to work for you, whether it's, you know, LinkedIn, your website, anything else. You know, is you have to show up and you have to do the work. And if you're not prepared to show up and do the work, then don't even bother. You know, and that's not
Right.
to say there's been people who have done really well on singular platforms. But that's a risky approach because we just never know when these platforms are going to shift or change or kick us off because we've passed bad things or something like that. You know, so for us, it's too risky to rely on a single platform. And, you know, you mentioned all your friends who put a considerable effort into
Clubhouse.
Clubhouse. Right. And I had similar experiences with, you know, some marketers where like, this isn't the place to be, you got to be here, you got to be here. And it worked for about, I think, 6 months. It was the place to be, and then it quickly faded after that. You know, so, you know, I don't
Flavor
know
of the
whether they've
day.
been cooped or not, or if they're able to move them to another platform. You know, if they collected their email, they were probably a lot more successful, but, you know.
Right. Exactly.
So do you need a website? What do you think, bottom line, based on what we, you know?
Yes. I'm sticking with my initial answer. Yes, you need a website.
I'm going to say yes with a but. Yes, but, you know, you need to understand that the work hasn't stopped because you built your website.
And I think that there are different stages within your business that you shift the use of your website as well. Or, you know, during COVID, we all had to pivot a certain amount. Well, your website is a really great place for you to show how you're pivoting as you're pivoting to your clients and potential clients.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that I always caution people on, because, you know, if you are a small business or a solo entrepreneur or service provider, we routinely experience feast and famine, right? And, you know, we get, you know, we do a bunch of marketing, we get some clients, and they're like, hey, I'm busy. And we go and we work with those clients, and then we stop marketing. So, and then we, 6 months later, we stick our heads up, Clubhouse is gone. That's what happened to Clubhouse. And we're like, now what do we do? And we have to start the process over. So part of having the website and part of doing the ongoing content marketing is to make sure you always have a presence so that you can sort of mitigate the impact of the feast and famine, particularly the famine aspect of it. So that, top of mind, like, when you're done with this video, the things you're supposed to remember is get the email and stay top of mind. That's your goal in marketing, right? If you
And
do those two
create
things,
some
and
really
that's the only
great
thing you've
content.
heard in this video, we did our job. So
Awesome.
yeah, cool. What are we talking about next time?
Oh gosh. Boy, I'm not prepared to answer that question today, Mike, but I'll
Really?
think about it this week. I
Mhm.
know, isn't that well, let's talk about newsletters next time.
Okay.
Collecting
Because we've
email
got your email now.
addresses.
What do we do with it, right?
Yes. Yeah. And we're talking about omni-channel. So let's take it to the next level. Once you get that email, then how do you retain their trust and honor your value proposition?
So next week, we're going to talk about newsletters, and we're going to talk about, now that you've got an email, what do you do with it? This has been another exciting edition of Badass Marketing with a technical glitch in the middle of it. So it'll come in 2 parts. So we hope you enjoyed that. We don't know what happened. But welcome to our world. Angela, always great to see you. We'll see you next week.
Happy St. Patty's,
Happy St.
everybody.
Patrick's Day. Erin go bra, top of the morning to you and all that fun stuff.